Greetings, YouTube Tech Nerd 1.0 here, taking a look at this vintage Smith Wesson revolver. This is going to be part of my Smith Wesson revolver collection. As many of you know, I do have. This was a curio and relic acquisition. Take a quick look at the box. This is the original box that it came in, and as you can see here, this is a 38 combat masterpiece. This was in stainless steel and is in thus it is a companion piece to the Model 15, which was the blued or black version of the combat masterpiece in 4-inch. Opening the box, we find the original wax paper that was in this, and this wax paper is, if you don't already know, it is rather important if you have a Smith & Wesson revolver to go ahead and keep it in that wax paper. It helps keep it a little corrosion resistant. It is a handsome looking revolver. Again, this was one of the first stainless steel versions. This is a K-frame square butt in 38 caliber and as well 38 caliber plus P. It's not recommended that you give this a steady diet of 38 plus P, but for carry or for once in a while, it's certainly going to be fine. Again, it has a 4-inch barrel with ribbed top to help with sighting, a ribbed back strap to help with grip, as well as ribbing underneath. So I don't think, by the way, I don't think these are, well, I know for certain these are not the original grips. Previous owner put these on there. Now these would have come with something very similar to this, or it would have come with, I believe they called them combat grips, which come more out to here, more of your traditional, at least today, traditional style of grip where you can get your whole hand around it. These look really nice, though. I'm going to probably leave them on until I acquire the proper grips for them. So again, this was introduced in 1972 as the stainless steel counterpart to the carbon steel model, the Model 15 combat masterpiece. This one is denoted as a no dash because of the stainless steel rear sight. You can see here, and if you know anything about revolvers, you'll know it is rather unusual. They received a lot of feedback from officers in the field not really liking this stainless steel rear sight. They felt it was too hard for them to acquire a target quickly. They were getting some sunshine coming back at them, some reflection, and they just didn't like it. So on later models, that's one of the first things that they changed was this rear sight. Lastly, you can see that this has a bull barrel, a pinned bull barrel as well, makes it very stable. Now these pinned barrels would go out in around 1972. So these are generally earlier ones with the pin barrels. They have a reputation for being hardier and more accurate. There's quite a bit of discussion on that topic, if that's really the case. Some people think they are, some people think they aren't, but they are highly desirable because of that. You can see here, the markings are all fairly clear, and the sight, the front sight being, again, because this is an early one, there is no coloring or anything on the sight. Later models would have a small notch in the front sight and would have a probably an orange or red insert in there for that. Most people of the time, or even now, if they get one of these, they're just going to put a little bit of paint, yellow, red, orange paint at the top here to help with quick acquisition. Smith & Wesson, even in this era, they pretty much pioneered the stainless steel revolvers, starting with the Model 60 in 1965. That was followed up by the Model 66. That was in 357. And then finally this model, the Model 67, that was in 1972. There was some issues with the early metallurgy. Obviously, that's going to happen because this is it's a kind of a first for anyone. Again, that's probably the primary reason why you don't want to feed it a steady diet of plus P and just go with 38 for most purposes. But this was designed specifically for law enforcement agencies who wanted to transition away from a more traditional blued revolver and move into something that was a little more low maintenance and a little more corrosion resistant, which obviously being stainless steel, these would be. Now, obviously not impervious to rust or corrosion, but it does help for the busy officer. Okay, let's move into media and pop culture. This revolver was featured pretty commonly in really detective, police dramas, stuff like that, anywhere from 70s into the 80s. Now, most specifically, this revolver, believe it or not, was featured in John Carpenter's Escape from New York, and this was Snake Plissken's gun. Now, you might be thinking that's unusual because I think most people probably think that Snake Plissken would probably carry a 357. I think that's what I thought when I was a kid. But no, it was this revolver. It was a 38. Now, the only difference, however, is his was fitted with a top scope right here. It made it look very interesting. We'll put up some pictures of it. He used this quite a bit. It's on the table when he's first being questioned and offered his deal, and then later on, Adrian Barbeau would use this revolver as well. So yeah, pretty good media presence for this revolver. Did translate in a lot of sales for them. This revolver stayed on the books for quite a few years, up into the 90s. Okay, so let's take a look also. I just want to show you, just as a comparison, we have this revolver as well. And I featured this on my channel a bit ago. This is a Taurus Model 66. And you can see this was also pretty much of the same time period. This was around early 70s. This was also a Bangor Punta pistol. And so you can see the heritage between these two. Very, very similar looking revolvers. This one is in 357, but even still, this was Taurus's version of a K-frame, and you can see very similar size. Very similar size, very similar weight. If the ordinary average person, if they were looking at these in the store, they're not really going to see a lot of difference. The only difference they're going to see is this one is probably, even at the time, going to be much less, at least by 100 quatlus or so. Now, Taurus would lose that that DNA, that Smith and Wesson DNA, much later after breakup of Bangor Punta. They would go on to do their own thing. I don't really collect any modern Taurus pistols pretty much because of that reason. Their pistols are very commercial now, but I do like these old ones because they basically look like old Smiths. So a little bit of a connection there. If you do see one out in the wild and you can get it cheap enough, I would go ahead and grab. Okay, so that is it. That is pretty much just a quick showing of, again, the Smith & Wesson Model 67. We're going to put this one back, and as soon as we can get out to the range, we're going to test this out and see how it performs. I expect it to perform quite well, of course. The last thing I do need to get for this presentation is a period correct manual, and I do have one on order. It just hasn't showed up yet. So I want to thank everyone for joining me here. This is a nice look at a vintage revolver that anyone can acquire, and often these are pretty reasonable if you go out there and look for them. And if you have a CNR, so much the better, even easier to acquire. So again, want to thank everyone for joining us today. Hope you got something out of this video. If you would, please like, share, and subscribe, and hit the bell notification on the way out. And if you do see that hype button, hit that hype button. Folks, this is Tack Nerd, and I am out of here.